You press the remote and nothing happens. No lights, no indicators, no unlock sound. Nothing really, to be honest. The car's dead. You try it again. You know, it's winter, your hands are freezing. You open, you pray to God, but it's still dead. Now you're fishing out the old emergency key blade from the key fob, this thing here, because you're cold, you're freezing, you're locked out. You've got to get your kid to nursery. You slide the blade in the door. You didn't bother putting any lock spray on the year before, but you do get in, you unlock it manually. Finally, you get into your BMW X5. You sit down, you hit the start button, the dash is completely dark, battery's flat. Again, frustrating, it's confusing, but it's way too common. It happens a lot. In this video, I'm breaking down the hidden causes of battery drains in the BMW X5, what to look for, how to test it, and where the real problem usually hides. Stick around, this could save you hours of guesswork and hundreds of euros or hundreds of pounds or dollars not going to a mechanic. Let's start with the usual suspects. The systems that quietly stay alive even when the vehicle's supposed to be asleep. Phantom drains, these are control units that stay awake long after the car ignition's off. These are silent continuous draws that drain your battery overnight. Even a big battery will be dead in the morning. Comfort access door handles, number one cause. The sensors can become faulty or they can be shorted and they ping for a key fob or they just stay live and pull current, preventing the car from sleeping. Control units are another one. Sometimes they might be sleeping or they appear to sleep, but due to internal hardware faults like failed capacitors, they continue to draw current even when the CAN bus looks quiet. Think CAS. Heater control systems, the final stage resistor or shorted water valves can keep pulling current hours after shutdown. They're just a couple of things. Now let's walk through the full diagnostic process, 7 steps from basic checks to deeper level troubleshooting. Step 1, basics, visual battery inspection. Pop the bonnet or the hood if you're from America, just check the battery, or in this case, in the trunk, open the trunk and check there. Look for corrosion on the terminals, loose cables, signs of swelling of the battery, physical damage, even something simple like a dirty connection can mimic more serious faults. Step 2, voltage test. With the car off, use a multimeter to check the battery voltage. You're looking for around 12.3 or higher. If you're reading less than 12 in an idle state, the battery might be already too weak to hold a charge. Step 3, battery capacity test. More involved this than just using a multimeter. Use a battery tester to check the cold cranking amps and the battery's state of health. It might show good voltage, but if the cranking amps are low, that battery ain't going to perform under load when you're trying to crank it over. And it might just go flat, especially in winter. If it's below 50% capacity, consider replacing it, especially before winter. Step 4, current draws and fuse isolation testing. Before we take measurements, the car needs to be prepped properly so we don't set off the alarms or wake the modules during the test. And I've got a dead easy way of doing that. I'll show you with this i3 fob of mine. Start by opening the front doors to access the front and rear fuse boxes. Leave them all open, but then manually close the latches on the doors as if they were locked with your finger or a little screwdriver. That'll trick the car into thinking the doors are actually closed when in fact they're actually wide open. Now, press the lock button on your car once, twice like that in rapid succession. So lock it and then like that. And then that'll make sure the alarm doesn't go off when you lean in to take your measurements. It'll turn off interior monitoring. So wait then 45 minutes to 1 hour to let the car enter full sleep mode. Use an amp clamp on the negative battery cable and take a reading. If the draw is above 0.060 amps or 60 milliamps, something's still awake. You've got an active parasitic drain, no doubt. To isolate where that drain's coming from, move your amp clamp to the positive cable branches. There's one cable going to the front fuse box and one going to the rear fuse box. You want to check the rear one first because it's easy. If you have nothing on there, like virtually no drain, 0001 or something like that, then it's basically you've not got a drain on the back. Measure each line separately. Whichever one shows a current draw, that's the area to investigate further. Say it's the front, then you get a fuse by fuse millivolt testing procedure started to actually pinpoint the exact circuit. Step 5, check the K-cam wiring on the rear right of the luggage compartment down on the floor. It's a common failure point on the E70 in particular. Moisture gets in, corrodes the wiring, breaks comms between control units. When that happens, the modules don't get the go to sleep command. They stay awake and they continue draining power. Now you can confirm that with an oscilloscope by just checking for missing or distorted square wave signals on the CAN lines. Step 6. Alternator and ground path testing. Start the engine and check the voltage at the battery. You should see 13.5 to 14.5 volts. If you're only getting 12 volts, your alternator might not be charging. It could be due to worn brushes inside the alternator, but it could be due to a bad ground. Now, yeah, you could have a bad ground on the chassis of a voltage drop, enough to start the engine via the starter motor, but not enough for the alternator to actually have a return path for the current. So make sure you check between the engine block and the chassis while the engine's running. Negative to negative, anything above 0.2 of a volt suggests a poor ground connection, and that could be blocking proper charging. I've actually had that happen to me. Very rare, but it happens. Step 7. Faulty control modules and components. Now, even when the CAN bus is asleep, as in the scope shows that it's completely sleeping, the car is sleeping, some modules might continue drawing current due to internal failures. The CAS module is absolutely very prone to this. It's a common example that I'll use because the microcontroller inside can fail. The car may stay powered even though the system's asleep, or a capacitor or a diode or something like that. Another known problem, what everyone knows about, is the CCC head unit, the early iDrive audio system. The DVD motor will keep spinning, or you could have solder balls cracked on the processor. Either way, if the board fails, the unit will just pull 1 amp, 1.3 amps. You might hear a faint noise or feel warmth hours after shutdown. If you disconnect the CCC fuses and you have a drop in the current draw, you've found your culprit. Also, watch out for aftermarket door lock actuators, especially cheap non-gen ones like this one here. If the lock works and unlocks fine, the electronics inside, they still might be pulling it high, and they do pull it high. They can draw current without triggering any fault code whatsoever. So if you've replaced the door lock with a cheap one, and you've noticed drains afterwards, unplug the door lock and recheck your current draw. Or better still, just chuck it in the bin and put a genuine one on. Now let's talk diagnostics. Not everyone has a professional scan tool, and that's okay. You know, even without one, you can do those basic checks. You can at least check the battery voltage at rest and stuff like that. Check if the alternator's charging. You can even have a tester, get a tester, a cheap tester, just to check the battery capacity and the cranking amps. They're the basic things, but if you do have access to a code reader, a BMW specific one's even better, like ISTA. Here's what to check. Are there any fault codes showing that the car didn't enter sleep mode? Are there any fault codes saying the car was forced into sleep manually through the intelligent battery sensor? So any fault code saying that the car woke up unexpectedly? Look for comfort access handle faults. They're known to cause these wake-ups. Scan for CAN errors suggesting module comms failure, which they can't shut down then. Check for most ring break codes that could indicate a faulty CCC under the dead module that's drawing current silently, such as the amplifier or the telematics unit. If you use ISTA, use the diagnosis function, energy diagnosis function. It shows current usage over time, and I'll highlight exactly what module's draining power. Pretty much, it's quite accurate actually. So what can you actually do? Well, start with the basics as well. So make sure all the lights are off. Now, BMWs will switch them off. They're not like old rubbish cars. BMW can do that, but just do it anyway. Disconnect chargers or aftermarket accessories. If your battery's weak, replace it and register a new battery to your car. If you found a faulty module, broken CAN wiring, or a bad CCC unit, you might need to hand it off to a specialist. Battery drains in the BMW X5 can feel like chasing ghosts, but with the right tools and a methodical approach, you can solve the mystery and stop the drain for good. If you found this guide helpful, hit the like button, drop a comment if you've dealt with battery issues in your BMW, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-world diagnostics, DIYs and troubleshooting tips.